Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Wednesday, and all of our guests today brought to you by our title sponsor, and those guests include Ray Ferraro standing by. Our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. Panthers over the Oilers in 7. Joining us now from the NHL on ESPN, our friend Ray Ferraro. Ray, thanks for doing this, sir. I know you're busy. How are you?
I'm good, and as of now, I'm not busy. And it's a really great thing. The plan today is to take Ollie the dog out for a walk. There you go. I'm pretty well finished after that.
Oh, my
golf.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Ollie, 9:54. Can't do it all in one day, you know.
Start with the dog walk. Ease in. Hey, Ray, congratulations on the ratings for ESPN and then, of course, the partnership with TNT as well. But Game 7 ratings were, relatively speaking, off the charts for ESPN, ABC in that game. Same thing with Hockey Night in Canada. What captivated people on Monday night?
Well, Game 7, right? That is always just, we talk about it so much, but it happens so rarely. We had a meeting the day before, kind of like a production meeting about what was going to happen and how we were going to try and cover the game. And it was brought up that in the history of the ESPN company doing live broadcasts, that was the 10th Game 7 that they've had. Like only 10 of them. And so it made me think about, geez, it's more rare than we think. So people that are hockey fans or kind of hockey fans, games 4 and 5 and 6, maybe they're interested or, the diehards are watching, but then it gets to Game 7 and everybody wants to tune in to see what's going on. And then it's 1-1 halfway through the game. And you can lose viewers if it gets to 4-1, everybody goes away. They're like, thing's over. But obviously it wasn't the case. And so there's, the length of the series, McDavid had a lot to do with it, right? We spent a lot of time talking about the best player in the game, and then really the best team in the game from January on was Florida. So it's a pretty great number. They're really, the people that do that in their job, they're really happy with it. And I was happy the game was good. You always dread the Game 7 might end up, spreading itself out and somebody gets down and it's just over, but that certainly wasn't the case.
Hey, Ray, you tweeted this out. There was a great shot of you watching the cup being raised on Monday night. So what was that like in Sunrise on Monday, a place that nobody ever thought, 20, 30 years ago that the cup would be lifted there. But watching Barkov and Maurice and everybody on the Panthers raise the cup on Monday. Well,
as the series goes on, I'm so lucky. I get to, I'm standing right between the benches and I have a few interactions with guys that I know just a little bit and with the officials, and you sense and feel the tension building from the first day of the series until Game 4. And now by the end, nobody's talking to anybody. And there's the picture that's there. And I'm sitting there. Maurice is 30 years in the game, 35 years in the game. He's never won. And the elation, the joy, the amount of guys that are crying in that 15 minutes after they win, like Bill Zito, the GM, every time he turned around, he saw a new guy, started to cry again. He was crying for 30 minutes. And it's I have such great appreciation for that, but also there's a touch of envy in it because my gosh, I would have loved to have done that one time. And it's funny, as the Canucks get into Game 7 this year against Edmonton, I had this little thing in my head, what if they get through here? What if they get into the next round? What if the Canucks win and one day we have the Stanley Cup in our backyard because Cammie's part of it? It's impossible not to dream, yet those guys are just plodding along through this, this fog of the 2.5 months of the playoffs. And then finally it just erupts, all this emotion. And it was man, it was a fabulous scene to see. It really was.
Ray, you just brought up the Canucks. Boy, oh boy, we're 4 days from July 1st. They have not signed Lindholm, Zadorov, Joshua, Myers, Bluger. The list goes on. What's going on there in terms of, are you worried? That's a lot of guys that could walk out, and then you got to re-sign a whole whack of new guys as well.
I'm not worried about it, because if you were in Pittsburgh or St. Louis or Tampa, everybody's got the same questions about their team. Like, of course, it's more immediate because it's here.
Yeah.
But last summer, right before July 1st, there was all kinds of questions. And then bing, 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 you signed 5 guys, and most of them to 1-year contracts. The danger of it is that it's a 1-year contract. If it all works, then those guys are going to play themselves out of that pay level. But you can't expend yourself with guys that might not play to a certain level, and then you're stuck with a contract or 3, and then what do you do? So this is what I think is going to happen. All those players that you mentioned, there's hundreds of them around the league.
Yeah.
They all are looking at this $4 million in cap raise, and they all think it's going to them. And then they're going to get to July 2nd and go, wait a minute, there's not as much money in the system as we thought. Teams are tight, still tight to the cap. Like, how many teams have we seen talk about, oh, we want to sign a left D and a right winger and a backup goalie, and, oh, we don't have any money. And so they got to try to figure the thing out. So if Dakota Joshua, who has a fabulous year, and it's a career year of 18 goals, you have to decide, if he goes out there to July 1st and some team offers him $3.5 million, well, I can probably guess where he won't be.
Yeah.
And that's here. But what are you going to do? Like, you have a chance for your biggest payday coming off a great year. You've got to take it. Now, many players end up taking that biggest payday, and they leave the place that will be best for them in their career. Like, that's the trade-off. Sometimes the reason you have a great year is because of the place you're in, the players you play with, the way you connect to the system. There's lots of different things. And it's not just in Vancouver. It's everywhere. Like, I'm looking at this as the most jumbled up week of the year. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the Stanley Cup just ended, which is 2 weeks too late, now it's like, it seems like everybody's drinking through a fire hose right now. You're trying to figure out, like, who's going where, what can you sign? And right up until, July, it clicks to July 1st, you still talk to players, but you're also talking and trying to get a sense of what other players might. If player A leaves, how could we replace him with somebody else? Could we get him? Or is he in a bidding war with 6 other teams? And that's the game of this time of year.
But Ray, the biggest concern here is that for the first time in a long time, the Canucks were hard to play against. The Edmonton Oilers, they felt it playing the Canucks in round 2. They came out of that, and there's, if you lose Zadorov, Joshua, and Myers, that's a good chunk of sign. Those guys are Rick Tocchet type guys. That's one of the big fears, is all that size is going to get up and leave.
Okay, so say Nikita Zadorov, he's certainly the most publicized of the crew.
Yeah.
What if he thinks he's going to get $5.5 million?
Very good chance of that. Very good chance.
So are you going to pay it?
Nope.
Well, okay, so there you go.
Well, they would have paid.
Then you go get another big guy.
Yeah, you go get another big guy.
You can't even look at it any other way. Mm-hmm. The fact is, you'd love to keep all those players because they had really great years for you. But somebody gave the analogy once. You can only put so much sand, and they didn't use sand for the, in a jar. And so that's what you got. You got that much sand in a jar. And if it overflows, then you got to take some out. So if Zadorov feels that he's going to get that type of payday somewhere else, and that's up to his agent to, they're all fielding all that stuff right now. And he wants that kind of financial commitment, and I don't blame any player for it. and he feels that that team that's offering him it is a good place for him, then he's going to go. And then all of a sudden you go, you know what? We have his cap space. Who do we turn to? Is it a guy like Brendan Dillon, who would be a reasonable facsimile? But Brendan Dillon's going to have options too. And so, you only have the money you have. And I know like Tyler Myers would love to stay here. But what if somebody gives him another big deal?
Yep.
Oh, then he's got to decide. Joshua is an interesting case because I would compare him a little bit, although stylistically they're different, but to Warren Foegele in Edmonton.
Right.
Foegele had his first 20-goal year. Joshua had an 18-goal year. They both had, basically for them, they had career seasons to this point. Well, what are you paying for that? You have to decide, is 20 for Foegele and 18 for Joshua an outlier year, or does that become the regular thing?
Yeah.
And that's the chance on July 1st you take. I think the best deals, guys, are just past July 1st. More mistakes are made July 1st than if you're patient to July 3rd.
Right.
Canuck fans know that, Ray. Hey, Hall of Fame, Hockey Hall of Fame. And I know through the years you've talked about this player on and on our various shows. But Pavel Datsyuk gets into the Hockey Hall. Look, you're smiling already. The Hockey Hall of Fame.
My favorite player.
And of course, you watched him a lot when Landon was in the Detroit organization. What did you enjoy about watching him play hockey?
I'll start by saying this. If I could ever have reincarnated myself as a player, it would have been Pavel Datsyuk. The only other guy I could think of on that same thought when I watched him play was Patrice Bergeron, and that was just, they're so different. But Bergeron never did anything wrong, it seemed like, in his whole career. Like he was I'm sure he made mistakes, but he never seemed to, right? Datsyuk, it was his humble way that he went about being an absolutely brilliant player. He was an artist. He could do things on the ice with the puck that would make your jaw drop. Like, that clip of when he turns Logan Couture around 3 different ways, and Couture's a terrific player, and then he just falls over. He was the first guy to make that deke on the penalty shot when he flipped it back over the goalie. His game expanded all over the ice, and he did, like when he scored, he kind of put his head down. Like he was just, I just loved everything about the way he played. And there are some great stories about when he showed up to training camp in Detroit. It's because he had this kind of goofy way of walking, like his right foot, he would always walk on the outside of it with his skate. So if you picture his right ankle was kind of pointed out. And so they're watching this guy go on the ice, and and that was the team with Brett Hull and Luc Robitaille that were on the 3rd and 4th lines. And they're like, who is this guy? Like, why am I playing with him? Until he started to play. He didn't speak any English. And they're like, I didn't even know who that guy is, but holy, is he good. And I didn't question for a second whether he was a Hall of Famer. Like he's right on it. And I'm so happy that he was able to get voted in.
Yeah, didn't take him long to get there. Hey, Ray, let me slip one more in here very quickly, 30 seconds or less. Should the Canucks be interested in Jeff Skinner if he becomes available?
No, not for me. Because Dolly, and this is why. Dolly talked earlier about Rick Tocchet type players.
Yeah.
Skinner is smaller. He's had real bouts of inconsistency through his careers. Now, you're going to get to a point where you go, is he the best option maybe to provide some offense? Because clearly they've got to find a winger that can score, at least one.
Yep.
And so maybe the price becomes something that you can afford and you'd be willing to take a chance on. But what if somebody offers him a 3-year contract? You go, you know what? I'll probably look somewhere else. What if you could get him for 1 year at $3 million? Well, maybe you do take a chance. So when we say, are all these guys, sorry for the longer answer, we say all these guys, can you be interested in them? The money is only one thing. Well, first of all is, are you interested? And I said no right away because I think the money might be prohibitive. And so they cannot be separate things. They have to be all the same. The money, the term, the like of the player, like they all have to match. And if you don't like it, do not drop an anvil on your foot here on July 1st. Just wait, because you might get 90% of the player that you're talking about for 40% of the price on July the 5th.
Yeah. Go take care.
I think that's the way you have to look at it.
Yeah. Go take care of Ollie and have a great summer, Ray.
Well, he's sitting right over here. He's ready to go. Guys, I hope you guys have a great summer. And I got to say, it was this year was so long because it ended so late, but it was a unbelievable privilege to do Game 7 like that. It was just amazing. I'm so grateful to do it, and looking forward to the summer and trying to hit the ball straight. That's the goal.
All the best, Ray. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you guys be well. Peace. And Dolly, no Hawaiian shirt again. You just disappointed.
Hey, Fridays.
Yeah.
Ray,
I
Fridays.
don't care. I told you this before. I don't care.
Fridays. We got to get you on Fridays.
There you go. See, it's simple.
Yeah, Henderson screwing up again.
Make an exception for Ray.
I should have. I screwed
Henderson
up
again? Well, you can only do what you can do. Good luck, fellas.
Go walk your dog.
Oli,
Peace, guys. Be well.